Okay, good afternoon and welcome. This is Office Hours with Stitchcraft Marketing. And today's topic that we're going to cover is should I start a Patreon, which is also the topic of one of our most recent blog posts. And honestly, we came upon this topic sort of as the answer to a question of what do I do if I'm not seeing the engagement numbers that I am used to seeing on Instagram? And I guess I should back up for just a minute because I should introduce myself. My name is Laura Cameron. I am the Director of Operations for Stitchcraft Marketing. I'm joined on this call by my colleague, Rebecca. And we are a small marketing agency that focuses exclusively on clients in the fiber and fabric space. So we, our business is crafting. We are all crafters. And so we try and look at marketing trends and everything that we talk about from the perspective of what are crafters looking for and how can you as a crafty business better serve them. So one of the things that we've been hearing from our clients, particularly in the last 2 to 3 months, is that their engagement numbers have fallen off quite a bit on Instagram in particular. And we think there are a couple reasons for this. We don't know for sure because Instagram hasn't published anything. But one of the things that we have been thinking about is so I should say we think there are a few reasons for that. First is at the beginning of the year, Adam Mosseri, who is the head of Instagram, announced that he didn't see Instagram as a photo platform anymore. He wanted it to be focused on more than that. And specifically, he really wanted it to be focused on video. Now, we can argue about whether that is the right direction for that platform or whether it was really great as a photo platform before, which I think it was. But the bottom line is that if that's the direction that Instagram wants to go, that is the direction we are sort of going to have to go to use Instagram. So I do think some of the decreased engagement on static photo posts or carousels is that people are, is that they are prioritizing videos in the algorithms. There are times that I open my Instagram and when I flip through it, there are no static photos. It is all videos. And if I close out of Instagram and go back into Instagram, then sometimes I'll get static photos, but it is a lot of videos. The second thing that I'm noticing on there is how much advertising there is now. If you go through your Instagram feed, unless you're going through just who you're following, you're going to find an ad every 3 to 5 posts. And so I think some of the placement on Instagram also has to do with sort of who's paying to play. Now, that doesn't mean you have to advertise, but that does mean that if you're not advertising on Instagram, you may also see some of your static posts being pushed further down. The final thing is that and I know we say this about various times of the year. In general, I feel like engagement on social media posts, particularly in the summer months, and as people are getting back out there, and I don't want to say post-pandemic because we are not post-pandemic, but as people are starting to sort of re-emerge and travel again and do other things, I think they're spending less time on social media. They're engaging with posts less, and the less engagement there is with your posts, it's kind of a snowball effect, because if your posts don't get a lot of engagement, the algorithm pushes them further down in the feed, and then it's hard to get engagement because not everyone is seeing them. Anyway, so as we sat down as an agency to sort of talk about this, because we have also seen a drop off in business over the summer, which is somewhat normal for our crafty clients. I mean, if we think back to pre-pandemic times, so pre-2020, I think we all saw a little bit of fall off in the spring and summer months. And of course, then we prepared for kind of the fall and holiday months. I know we always talk about the economy. I know we have talked about the pandemic from the last few years. I do have economic concerns coming up in the next little bit, which is, are we headed for a recession? How is the political and election arena going to play out in the fall? Are people with the high prices of gas and everything else right now, are they conserving some of their discretionary funds and perhaps not spending whereas they did? And then the other thing that we have thought about is, you know, many of our crafty business clients saw a huge increase in business during the pandemic. And the question is that sustainable? And as people get out and do more, you know, what do sales look like? Obviously, we are all sort of trained in the mindset that we want to grow our sales year over year. But the pandemic was just such a shift. Is there a point at which maybe 2022 or 2023 are not going to be as great as 2020 and 2021? And also, what can we do to kind of combat that and maintain interest? So that's kind of the scope of how we got to this blog post. And one of the things that we talked about is how can you engage your customers off of social media? If they are not seeing your social media posts, how can you reach out to them and build a better relationship with them and have some direct engagement from them so that you can build your customer base? And one of the things that we came up with is that the answer is you have to build your community. And how can you build your community? And one of the platforms that's available is a Patreon. So what I'm going to talk about today is a lot of stuff that's kind of specific to Patreon, but not entirely. As I talk about the reasons why you might choose to build a Patreon, what features Patreon offers, there are other platforms out there and there are other ways that you may want to enact this. We're just going to sort of take a bird's eye view on Patreon because that is something that we've had experience with recently. We recently had a client go through and build a Patreon, so we have some insight into that. So as I said, let me go back to my deck. This relates to a blog article that Flossie just wrote for us. This went up last week. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is bullet pointed there, but I also have a few extra examples here and I'll try and expand on a few things here. So that's kind of where we started. And even if you don't want to start a Patreon, like I said, some of this may be useful as you think about how to develop a community that isn't dependent on like the major social media platforms. So what are some of the reasons you might want to start a Patreon? One of the things is that it enables you to build direct relationships with your patrons, Patreons, those who subscribe and follow you. If you're on any other platform, you are subject to the algorithm. You are subject to who it shows your page, who decides to respond, those kinds of things. A Patreon is basically a membership community where people elect to be part of your membership community. And as a part of that, they are notified whenever you add anything to the membership community. So for instance, when you add a post to your Facebook page, not everyone is going to see that post. When you add, say, a blog post or something new to your Patreon, it is actually going to send a message to all of the members who are, to all of your members and let them know that there's something new there for them to see. Now, of course, they can adjust their email notifications to, you know, get a digest each week or some of those kinds of things, but they still are going to get the information when you post it, and it's not going to be hidden because of an algorithm or pushed out by something that is a post that is getting more engagement. The second thing something like Patreon enables you to do is monetize your content. Patreon is a platform for membership, and to be a member, everybody's going to have to pay something. It can be as little as $1 based on events. It could be $1 a month. It could be $1 each time you post. It could be $1 a quarter. You get to set the frequency of that, but it enables you to monetize your content because as you create bits and pieces for Patreon, you can charge folks for it. And I will talk about some of the examples of kind of how charging folks for content happens over on Patreon. One of the benefits to this is that you build a somewhat regular income stream. Now, you are not going to get rich doing this. I promise you that, but it is going to build a predictable income stream because you're going to know for most months, you're going to have X number of subscribers and they're going to be paying, even if they just pay your lowest rate. So let's say I have 30 subscribers and my lowest rate is $1 and my highest $1 and my highest rate is $5. Those 30 people, I'm going to get a minimum of about $30 every month and possibly more depending on how many I have at the higher levels. Again, it may not be a huge amount of income, but it is going to be somewhat predictable. You'll always have a few join and a few leave. Hopefully you'll get to retain everyone and you'll be growing, but I mean, you're going to have a somewhat regular source. If I know I'm getting approximately another $30 a month, maybe that's my web hosting fees. Maybe that pays for, after a few months, for me to buy a new microphone. Maybe that pays for me to, over a few months, develop a new pattern or something fun to share with them. Again, it's not going to be your whole income source, but it could definitely supplement the other things you're doing. You can create content that you customize. You can offer pretty much anything on Patreon. They have a variety of pre-formatted things. You can create videos and upload them to Patreon and have kind of restricted viewing to only your membership or only certain portions of your membership. You can create sort of live chats. You can conduct tutoring sessions or one-on-one sessions if you would like to. You can create blog posts, and then you can create rewards, and rewards could take the form of free downloads, discount codes, early previews, or early access to shop events, those kinds of things. So you can create kind of whatever you want. You are not limited to, say, on Instagram, you have to have a photo, you have to have a description, you should have hashtags and links. Like, you're not quite as limited on what kind of format things can take. The big one is you can subvert all the ads. Whether you know it or whether you pay attention to it or not, your content is also bracketed by ads on every platform. We've all been flicking through or scrolling through Facebook, and we've seen tons of ads. On Patreon, there will be no ads. This is your platform. If you choose to put an ad up, it's an ad for your business, but people aren't seeing whatever they last clicked in their Gmail that is now carried over to their Facebook. So that. And then you have some exclusivity. People who are going to pay even a nominal fee each month to get more contact with you, to get some benefits that you're going to keep behind the curtain of membership. They're going to be your fan club. They're going to be your biggest supporters. And honestly, a lot of them are probably already your biggest customers or will become your most loyal customers. And that group kind of just creates a little bit of exclusivity. Now, there are people who are using this model to produce content for everyone, but then add a few perks. And I'll talk a little bit about that because it doesn't literally have to be an exclusive group that nobody else can be a part of. I'm just going to look in the chat because I see something popped up. There is not a connection between YouTube and Patreon, but you can embed your YouTube videos on Patreon. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. Patreon and YouTube are like not financially connected. You can post videos to YouTube as, I believe, private videos, and then you can put them into your Patreon and people there will be able to view them based on the membership tier. There is also, if you decide to do a live event and you decide to broadcast it to YouTube, I think you can do that as well. So they do work well together. They say that they work with both YouTube and Vimeo. So yes, but like they're not owned by the same people or anything. And you can't literally, I don't think you can literally film in Patreon. Like if you're going to film a video to share, I think you have to film it and upload it to YouTube and then unless you're doing some kind of live content, but I still think you need the extra platform. So yes, you need a YouTube or something else, but yeah, they're not owned by the same people or run under the same, yeah. So how does Patreon's payment model work? So Patreon offers 3 basic options. And what I'm going to talk about is a little bit confusing because I also put the tiers here. Okay, so Patreon has 3 options as far as you as a creator are concerned. If you get the light model, you pay 5% of your income. So if you look at Nitty here, they have approximately 3,000 people. If they're paying $2 a month, that's about $6,000 a month. If you have the light package, they're going to take 5% of that income plus any processing fees, any credit card processing fees. So they are going to take some of it. That's their commission for letting you use their platform. The light package offers a basic page plus Patreon tools and workshops. You can blog post, you can post videos, membership tiers, which is kind of the picture that I have here of what members can pay to access different benefits. There's only one membership tier available on Lite. Everybody has to get everything for one price. So if you want people to pay $1 per month, and everybody gets access to everything, then you can go with the light package. The pro is kind of the medium package, and there you're going to pay an 8% of your commission, but what you're going to get is you're going to get additional analytics and integrations and more of Patreon's tools. The top tier is premium. You're going to pay 12%. Of your income at that point, obviously plus processing fees, and then you're going to get even more analytics and integrations. So most of my friends most of the people that I know are on there are probably on the pro level as opposed to the premium level, but some people do use premium depending on the kind of content they're creating. And after they play with it for a little while and they see what features they have access to. I will say, like, one of the things about pro versus premium is one of my friends has a pro, and in pro you are not allowed to bring in like additional moderators. So she runs a blog and she has a Patreon for the blog, and she hosts monthly meetups and whatnot. And the deal is, I have not subscribed to her Patreon because technically I'm staff for the blog. I can't see what's in the Patreon, and the difference between, I think it's not till the premium level that she can invite me to become a moderator so that I don't have to pay to participate. So there are just lots of little things that differ between the levels, and you can kind of take a deeper dive into that as you're thinking about setting it up. You can also always start towards the bottom end and increase as your following increases or as you decide to segment more. So, and I'm just sharing, Nitty has a Patreon, and I will talk more about how they run their Patreon. You can see little bits and pieces here, and again, I will talk more about this as I keep going. So then the big question is, what content should I share? Because if you have this platform, you're sort of promising that you're going to share some exclusive content with them that maybe you're not going to share to everyone else. And so I wanted to share a little bit of that. Some people post video diaries. Franklin Habit has a Patreon, and he does little live from the workroom chats, and those chats are only available to Patreons. And so you don't have to watch it at the time that he does it, although you can. But right here, he did like 5 days ago, he did his from the workroom, and I can watch the live stream later. And if I weren't a member at the level that the live stream was there, it would say, there's a live from the workroom live stream available to you. Do you want to upgrade your membership? So everyone can sort of see what's there. They can't all access what's there. And I have something, I have another slide that will show that. So maybe you're just posting what you do. Everyone loves to see a day in the life, what goes on behind your company, behind your company doors, or how do you spend your days? Or if you're designing a pattern, what's your process? Maybe you sit down and you talk through your process. You can create lots of content that then is only available to people who are part of your membership community. You can create exclusive blog posts. So even if you're posting once or twice a month to your website to create content that anyone can see, you can also create additional, more detailed or kind of sneak peek or preview content for your members that just allows them a little bit of a closer look, because again, they are paying to get a little bit more of a relationship with you, and you get to kind of share a little bit more with them. I do know that a lot of people offer exclusive free patterns. This technically is actually not even a Patreon thing. Woolly Wormhead produces free patterns, and she gifts them to her newsletter subscribers, and they are underwritten in part by her Patreon. So she gives them to her Patreons, but she also makes them available to other people who choose to engage with her at a variety of levels. But if you have 500 people following you at $5 a month, that's $2,500 a month. That could underwrite your production of a free pattern once a quarter or once a year, to give your Patreons a little bit an extra perk for following you. Live stream chats. So this is what I was talking about here with Ply has a couple different options. And as you can see, I am a member of Ply, but I think I'm at the base level of Ply. So I can't actually see everything. I can only see some of them. So I can't unlock the March spinning class where JC Boggs, who is the editor of Ply, talks all about why woolen, why worsted. So she can share her tutorage and lessons and tutorials and all of her spinning information in a way that it's not quite the same as teaching a class at a festival and getting paid for that, but she also does get paid each month. So maybe she makes a little bit of her expertise available. She can do live stream chats. And one of the things that she does is one of her live streams said on the live stream, we chatted a bit about how it's time to talk about future Ply themes. Want to help? Do you want to get in on helping a magazine decide its future themes? Do you want to get in on helping someone name a pattern or design a custom yarn colorway or some of those kinds of things? Those are attractive to fans. They're ways that you can engage with your membership community and offer them some insight. Patreon also allows you to run polls. So you can poll for the best time to hold a meeting. You can poll for what do they like best of these 3 ideas. You can poll for what should our next session be about, What should we read for a book club? I mean, you can do all kinds of things with some of the tools that Patreon has built in. And you also have direct engagement opportunities. You can message one-on-one with people, or you can message to the entire community. And you can receive feedback from people and incorporate that into going forward. Am I saying you should let your membership community completely determine what you do? No. But when you need a creative boost, or you want to do a little something that involves your membership community, you can certainly involve them in your decision-making process. Behind the scenes access, I talked about that. That is kind of, everybody loves a little scene into behind the scenes. If you're a dyer, show them a little bit of your dye process, show how, show an unboxing. If you're a store and you want to show them more information about what's coming soon, some of those kinds of things. Everybody loves to see a little bit about your daily life, or what kind of the behind the scenes of the business looks like. Exclusive, all of these are kind of things that you can offer. Exclusive products, early access, or exclusive discounts. So Knitty, if you are a Patreon of Knitty, you actually get the link to the new Knitty magazine a day or two before the general public does. So there is a message, here is the message from Amy that basically said the first fall surprise has gone live. She talked a little bit about it. One of the cute things is the dog sweater shown here. And you get sort of the sneak preview before she actually publishes out to the public that the blog is up. You can do exclusive discounts. I will say, so one of the other Patreons that I am a member of is Fruity Knitting, and it is a 90-minute podcast that's produced a couple times a month, and they do really in-depth episodes, and their episodes are available on YouTube, and those are free for everyone. However, if you are a Patreon, they often, let's say they interview a yarn dyer for the podcast. Oftentimes the yarn dyer will offer a 20% discount for a select period of time, and those discounts are only available to Patreons. Also, sometimes they will decide, I know they decided they wanted to do a Marie Wallin knit along, which was Knit Any Pattern by Marie Wallin. They had a discount on Marie Wallin patterns, and then the knit along was, there were some meetups and some discussion, and all of it took place in the Patreon. So that's a way that they sort of produce their product for everyone, and it is accessible to everyone, but then they also keep certain benefits back so that it's just for members. And then Franklin does all kinds of fun things. Sometimes it's photos, sometimes it's illustrations, sometimes it's patterns. But like this was, he took a beautiful photo, and he's like, hey, you could make this a cozy crochet phone wallpaper. Here you go, have my photo. So, I mean, it's just little things that he chooses to share. And he has worked, so Franklin relocated from the United States over to France about a year ago now, maybe a little bit more. And one of the things that he did was, because he wasn't in the US and teaching wasn't the same kind of option that he usually does, he started a Patreon, and he has spent an incredible amount of time putting work into his Patreon, and it guarantees him a monthly income. So his income is less, I don't want to say unstable, but it's less dependent on there being festivals or magazines publishing or those kinds of things, because he can explore what he wants to explore and then share it with his Patreons or patrons. So ultimately the question is starting a Patreon really worth it? And I mean, you have to balance the financial benefit that it's going to give you with what kind of content you're going to seed it with. You do need to think about it as something you're going to have to put some time into, because people join you for exclusive membership when you provide them with some exclusive content. And that doesn't have to be, you have to develop a whole new thing each month. Maybe it's just that you do a monthly chat, or a monthly knit night, or a monthly crafting night, or you provide them with 1 or 2 blog posts a month. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of effort for you. Like I said, my friend who runs one for her blog, the blog is available to everyone. She does a once a month sit and chat with Anna. And so 1 hour a month, she sits and chats with everyone. And then some months she'll add an extra poll. She started a book group. So the book group meets once a month, but it's not like she's spending a ton of hours a month creating content for it. A lot of it is just a little bit of extra access to her. And when she has new products, she posts asking if anyone has a name for the product. And if someone comes up with the best name, she'll send them that product. So the example that we recently went through was, we work with Sarah Shira of Imagine Landscapes, and she decided to put together a Patreon. She basically wanted to do only 2 membership tier levels, and she didn't want to spend, she wanted to have some guaranteed income, but she also didn't want this to be a huge ask. And obviously the less you ask for in monetary compensation, the less you need to put into this. You know, if you're asking someone for a $15 a month contribution, you need to be producing value to them, so that they continue to subscribe to you. But of course, if you're just asking for a few dollars a month, people are much more likely to engage with you, regardless of sort of what you're offering. And I will say that I belong to a lot of Patreons, and I support people with my money, and I almost never take advantage of the increased access. I'm actually not a model Patreon person, because honestly, I'm a member of so many Patreons and I get constant email notifications, and unless it really catches my attention, I don't go over and look. That said, I am more than happy to let my money support those artists because I really like them. So just some simple math. Sarah Shira launched hers in the last couple months. She has 361 patrons. I do not know what the division is between 150 and 250. And even if I did, I probably couldn't share that. But at 361 patrons at the $1.50 level, she's making between $500 and $600 a month for adding a little bit of early behind the scenes content and some digital downloads. She's not doing a ton of work, and she's already boosted her income by a little bit. Franklin, like I talked about, Franklin produces quite a bit of content, and he has different tier levels. Like I said, you can see weekly behind the weekly live stream videos, welcome postcards, monthly additional content, free patterns, a winter holiday card. And if you look, he's got around, well, I'll say around 1,200. Even if people are only participating at the $3 level, that's $3,600 a month. Now, he works incredibly hard to create lots of content. I would say he creates content every few days, but he is making a decent income making content like that, and he can basically make whatever content he would like to make, and his patrons are enjoying it. I mean, I suppose I should say within reason, but you know, his dabblings in his workroom, his miniatures with Fox and Box, the Adventures of Dolores, all the things that he does, people are signed up and interested in it based on him and the content that he's creating. And so he's got a pretty stable income of several $1,000s a month. And finally, just to talk about a slightly different model, Knitty is on Patreon and has been for quite a few years. If you're not familiar with Knitty, it is a free online magazine. It has been going on forever. It actually predates Ravelry by quite a bit. And the editor is Canadian, and she tries to keep Knitty. She does have some ads on Knitty, but they are only ads for yarn and fiber and craft. And she wants to keep the magazine free. So she publishes a magazine where she does pay designers for their patterns, and she hires a tech editor. They do some photos, they write technique articles and other things. And Knitty has been around for at least since the mid-2000s. And she started a Patreon recently because she was looking for a little bit more steady income and a way to kind of raise some money for the magazine. The magazine comes out 4 times a year. And remember, I said that you can have it collect on varying time levels. She has chosen per issue. So basically, when the new issue drops, she does something behind the scenes at Patreon to say the new issue has dropped, now charge everyone. So her patrons get charged 4 times a year when the new issue drops. They get different benefits, like learning about it a few days ahead of time, like 10% coupons or 15% off coupons. You get some chats with her, those kinds of things. She has almost 3,000 patrons at $2 an issue for 3,000 patrons, even if they're, and again, I'm starting with the lowest number because I just want to, I want to be realistic here. That's $6,000 per issue that she is making, that she can then use to defray the costs of the issue. So, and of course, that's going to go up and down a little bit from month to month, but you're not going to see a huge fall off. So, so she knows that that's money that she has coming in the door based on what she's doing on Patreon and just because people want to support the magazine. And again, the magazine is free to everyone, not just her members. She just adds some extra perks for her members. And a lot of us are members because we have knit tons of patterns for, well, okay, I'll speak for myself. I am a member because I've knit tons of patterns from Knitty, and I still refer back to their technique articles, and it is a great resource, and they don't charge for it. So this is my way of paying back. And honestly, I don't remember, I think I'm at $5 an issue, but $20 a year for all the patterns that they produce and all the articles that they produce, that's the same or less than a print magazine subscription. So why wouldn't I? And not everyone is going to be able to participate in a Patreon. I do realize that this comes up against issues of accessibility. But like I said, you can create a product that is available to everyone and still manage to keep a few perks behind the scenes to your membership community. And usually you can find a way to coexist between those two things. So that is kind of the basics on Patreon and some of the things to think about. Like I said, there are other communities out there. We have other blog articles that we have written about how to start online communities. We talked about Discord. We talked about starting kind of your own chat platform within your own website. Brown Sheep has recently created something that they call Spinning Yarns, and it's something that they built into their website, and it is a chat forum and community. And so, you know, and we've heard Ravelry is not getting the traffic that it used to, and there have been some issues with that. But the question is, can you create a place where your customers can congregate? And it might be a Facebook group, it might be a Patreon, it might be something else. Can you create a place where your customers can congregate, where they can chat with each other, where they can chat with you, where they can feel like they have a little bit of a stake in your business? And in exchange for that, they will be willing to pay. At least some of them will be willing to pay for a little bit of that extra access. So this could be another income stream that you consider as you're making decisions. So I know I went on a little bit long. Thank you for joining us. Our next session of office hours will be held on August 17th. And I should say, starting in August, we are going to move to Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Same time, different day. We have been doing Tuesdays for a while, but we now have our mastermind groups starting in the fall, and those are going to conflict. So we're going to, from now on, we're going to move to Wednesdays at 2 p.m. You will still get the emails in advance. You will still be able to watch afterwards on YouTube, but I just wanted to let you know. So that will be Wednesday, August 17th. And we are putting together a presentation on 3 ways you can navigate inflation and rising costs, which we know is an issue for everyone right now. We've put together some fun ideas that technically they might require a little bit of your time, so they're not entirely free, but they don't require a cash outlay. So we're calling them sort of for free options that you can use to, again, increase engagement with your customers. So thanks for joining us, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye. Oh, and let me